Okay, hello, good morning everyone. Sorry for the delay of the sync video, no? Medyo nagka-problema lang sa mga bagay-bagay. So, without further ado, let us continue um, the topic from the processing of flattened image with the automatic processor parts and processor maintenance, QC or quality control, cleaning, and record keeping or documentation. So to start, the efficiency of radiologic services was increased considerably because of the introduction of the roller transport automatic processor by the Eastman Kodak Company. Additionally, automatic processing has resulted in better image quality because each radiograph is processed in exactly the same way. So, ang problema lang, if pangit ang isa ka radiograph or produce radiograph because of faulty quality control and faulty cleaning, dire-diretso na siya. Unless mapansin ninyo, dire-diretso na pangit na gid ang radiograph. Until mapansin ninyo na, ay, di na din ni maayo na quality radiograph. Okay? And the principal components of an automatic processor are the transport system, the temperature control system, the circulation system, the replenishment system, and the dryer system, of which I will be discussing in a little while. Okay? Isa-isahon na ko na siya in the next slides. So to start, the transport system begins at the feed tray, where the film to be processed is inserted into the automatic processor. There, entrance rollers grip the film to begin its trip through the processor. A microswitch is engaged to control the replenishment rate of the processing chemicals. Yeah, for example, it's important that the dimension of the film is the same with the dimension of the feed tray. So for example, if this is your feed tray, okay, this is where the film processing starts. If we're going to lay your film here, dapat ang short side niya is against the rail of the feed tray. Okay, so as you can see, the long side of the feed tray is, what do you call this? Same sila, dapat, no? Kung itapat ninyo ang long side ni film to the long side of the feed tray and the short side against the rail or the short side of the feed tray. Okay? And of course, the entrance rollers, once the film is positioned in the feed tray, entrance rollers will grip the film. No? Siya ang magkuha sa film to begin its trip through the processor, and a micro switch is engaged. Once the film is sensed by your micro switch, replenishment rates will start, no, with the chemicals. Always feed the film evenly using the side rails of the feed tray and alternate sides from film to film. So, yun na, sinabi ko kanina. This ensures even wear of the transport system components and ensure proper replenishment rate is maintained. Okay? So, kailangan na even ang ato ang pag-feed sa film, no, in the automatic processor, so that no, ang the replenishment rate is maintained, no, which will be discussed also later, what is the replenishment rate for both the fixer and the developer, and also proper wear and tear of the transport system components, no? Parang equal ba ang paggamit, no, sa mga rollers, sa mga guide shoes, ano good. And the transport system not only transports the film as the name states, but it also controls processing by controlling the time the film is immersed in each wet chemicals. For example, your transport truck, no, kana siyang transport truck na ginatawag natin, is there are many types, no? If your transport truck is shallow, medyo mababaw siya, so that means that your film is processed in that transport truck or in that processing tank, no, much earlier or much faster. Sorry, much faster siya because shallow lang nga. Okay, mababaw lang ang processing tank. Okay, but if your processing tank, such as the developer, is medyo deep siya, of course, your processing time is increased because it has to go through a deeper type of processing tank. Sige lang, later on, I will be discussing the processing tank, the processing rack, the transport rack, and the others. Okay? So this system consists of the following three principal subsystems: si rollers, transport racks, and drive motor. So isa-isahin natin yan sila. Okay? So three types of rollers are used in the transport system. Okay? Transport rollers, the first one, with a diameter of 1 inch or 1 inch, convey the film along its path. So this is the basic type of roller. Okay, so in every transport track, we have what we call a transport roller or transport rollers. Second type of roller is a master roller with a diameter of 75 millimeter or 3 inches. Is used when the film makes a turn in the processor. So this master roller, or other term is solar roller, is seen at the bottom of each processing tank. Okay? So ano na lang para dito mag-ano. Okay, this is an example of processing tank, this middle picture here. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, for example, developer ni siya, this processing tank has a transport rack, which is this one. Okay, this is one transport rack. For each processing tank, there is one transport rack. So this transport rack, pasok si film dito, yan, and then guide shoes will guide them pabalik sa taas, and then we'll cross over to the next tank. Okay? Okay, ganito siya. So, as you can see, there are shallow tanks, okay, with each with their own processor transport rack. So some of them, which is the developer na tank, has a deeper transport rack. Okay, si washing medyo ano siya. Some processors have shallow washing tanks. So that means the deeper the tank, that means the more time the film is immersed in each tank. So kung deep siya, mas longer ang processing time here than in the shallow parts of the shallow ones, shallow processing tanks. Okay? And then going back, again, si master roller is found at the bottom part of your processing tank. Okay? So ganito siya. This is an example of your transport rack. Okay? So some of them are offset, and some of them are paired with each other. Okay? So pag paired to each other siya, there is dire-diretso ang kanyang transport. Okay? So with the offset, the position of the rollers are mura siya window-window ba? Okay? So mo to siya. These are the two types of transport racks, no? There are either na with pairs or offset from each other. So each transport roller, which is the basic roller, is 25 millimeter in I think it's diameter. Yes, diameter. So yun siya. And then in the bottom, we have this big one, the solar or the master roller. Okay? So within each processing tank, at the bottom of it, meron tayong ginatawag na master roller or solar roller, which allows the film to be turned 180 degrees. So after in this area here, after niya magbaba, the master roller is responsible for it to magbalik siya pataas. Okay? Going back. So transport rollers are again positioned opposite to one another in pairs or offset from one another, as I have said a while ago. And the third type of roller is the planetary rollers, and metal or plastic guide shoes are usually positioned around the master roller. So the third type is planetary rollers, and within the transport rollers, we have what we call guide shoes. Okay, in which, see, later na lang. Here's a picture of your planetary rollers. So these 4 rollers are what we call the planetary rollers. For each master roller, there are 4 planetary rollers around it. So mura ba siya solar system na? Within it, if this is the sun, this will be your planets. Okay, so again, within each not within, but with each master roller, there are 4 planetary rollers. Okay. When the film is transported in one direction along the rack assembly, only 25 millimeter inch or 1 inch rollers are required to guide and propel it for one direction. Kung one direction lang ang daanan niya, so 25 millimeter roller or transport roller will suffice. And we have guide shoes to propel the film in every 180 degree curve. Because kung walang mga guide shoes, parehan ito, para siyang belt ba? Okay? It guides the film to where they should go. Okay? Kung walang belt yan, there is a possibility, kung walang guide shoes, ang processor natin, there is a possibility na mag-insert yan dito, and it will result to longer exposure to processing chemicals. Okay, so that is why we have our guide shoe, so that ang transport ng film is within this area lang, and it will guide it into this area lang. So walang magpasok dito, walang magpasok dito, walang magpasok dito. Okay, that is the function of your guide shoes. And when the film exits the top of the rack assembly, it is guided to the adjacent rack assembly through a crossover rack. Okay, so wala siya dito, it's in here. So in between each processor tank or in between each transport rack, there is what we call a crossover na rack. Okay, it is a group of rollers and squeegee rollers, no, that transports the film from one tank to another tank, or from one transport rack to another transport rack. Okay. So yun nga, the crossover rack is a smaller rack assembly that is composed of rollers and guide shoes. Okay, so again, the function of your crossover rack is to transport film from one processing tank to another. In each crossover rack, another type of roller is used to remove excess chemicals on the film and lessens the carryover of the previous chemical to the next. This roller is what we call squeegee. So the spelling is SQUEEGEE, squeegee. Okay, so this again type of roller is used to remove excess chemicals on the film, no, and lessens the carryover of the previous chemical to the next. This prevents the contamination of the developer to the fixer and the fixer towards the wash water. Again, squeegee, SQUEEGEE, squeegee. Okay, so yun nga, this again, repeat ko lang. So if this picture represents the type of transport, the position, various positions of your transport rollers, 25 millimeter transport rollers, they can be in pairs or they can be offset from one another yung window. Okay, this one is an example of a processor tank or processing tank, whatever. So when the film is inserted here, guide shoes will guide the way or propel the film towards the processing chemistry, and then this, what we call here, the combination of the master roller and the the combination of your master roller or solar roller and the four planetary rollers are called the turnaround assembly and sila. Okay, to be specific, this one. Okay, this area here is what we call a turnaround assembly because it is the assembly that allows the film to be turned 180 degrees. Okay, so it is composed of your master roller, and four planetary rollers with their respective guide shoes. Okay, and let's go to the drive motor. So power for your transport system is provided by a fractional horsepower drive motor. The shaft of the drive motor is reduced to 10 to 20 revolutions per minute through a gear reduction assembly. So hinay lang siya so that the time of the processing time of the film is controlled, okay, and monitored. A choice of either a belt and pulley, a chain and sprocket, or gears connect the mechanical energy of the drive motor to the drive motor of the rack assembly. So the power, no, in which the processor kung saan siya nagakuha ng power is from the drive motor yan siya. So without the drive motor, there will be no rotation of the rollers, there will be no movement of the guide shoes. Okay? And again, a choice of either a belt and pulley, as in belt na ginasuot ninyo sa iyong pants, and pulley na P-U-L-L-E-Y, a chain, cadena, and sprocket, S-P-R-O-C-K-E-T, or gears connect the mechanical energy of the drive motor to the drive motor of the rack assembly. So the drive motor is connected to the drive motor of the rack assembly by these three types of materials or devices. So this is an example of your chain and sprocket. Okay, so of course your chain, cadena, and then we have what we call a sprocket here, the belt and the pulley, and of course the gears. So we go with the next one, the temperature control system. The developer, fixer, and wash require precise temperature control. Developer temperature is most critical and it's usually maintained at 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Wash water is maintained at 3 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Fahrenheit or lower from the developer temperature. Okay, so dapat, as the name states, the temperature control, this system controls, of course, the temperature of the developer, fixer, and wash, of which it is critical because kung dili na siya ma-follow, hindi siya ma-follow ng processor, there will be changes, no? There will be alterations in the quality of the film. Temperature is monitored at each stage by a thermocouple or thermistor, of which this picture is. Okay, thermocouple or thermistor. Thermocouple, one word, or thermistor, which is THERMISTOR, and is controlled thermostatically by a controlled heating element in each tank. So for each tank, your processing chemicals are controlled by a heating element. Okay. Next, we have the circulation system. In automatic processing, a circulation system continuously pumps the developer and the fixer, thus maintaining constant agitation within each tank. So agitation means mixing, okay? So the function of your circulation system, as the name states, circulation, it circulates, no, the developer and the fixer only. Okay, so later on we will understand why wash water must not be recirculated. Okay, so the developer circulation system requires a filter that traps particles as small as approximately 100 micrometer to trap flecks of gelatin that are dislodged from the emulsion. Because when this flecks of gelatin and dislodged from the emulsion reaches the second film, okay, or yes, reaches the second film, it can damage the film and result to reduced quality of the film. Of course, your gelatin can also be deposited in the rollers, no, which can also harm the quality of the next films na ato ang i-process. Okay? And agitation is necessary to continually mix the processing chemicals. Maintain a constant temperature throughout the processing tank because kung hindi nyo circulate or i-mix or i-agitate ang inyong mga chemicals, okay? So that means mura ba siya tubig sa dagat. There are times na pag maligo ta sa dagat na some areas of the sea sa bottom part is malamig, sa taas is mainit. So ganyan ang mangyari sa inyong processor chemicals if they are not circulated. No, hindi even ang temperature. There are sometimes na the bottom part is cold, the upper area is, or the upper portion of the chemical is not hot, but warm. Okay, so this will reduce the quality of your radiographic film. And also, agitation aids exposure of the emulsion to the chemical. So it allows even exposure of the chemicals, no, in the film, so that again uniform ang film na uniform ang what do you call this? Uniform ang exposure ni developer or ni fixer or ni wash developer or ni fixer sa film. And the particles thus have less chance of becoming attached to the rollers because of the circulation system and of course the 100 micrometer na filter, okay, where they can produce artifacts. These filters are not 100% efficient, therefore sludge can build up on the rollers, and we don't want sludge to build up in the rollers because it can damage the film. Okay. So because of the 100 micrometer na filter, particles, no, they have the lesser chance of not only attaching to the rollers but also attaching to the subsequent films na i-process ni Radtech. And then water must be circulated, okay? It must be circulated but not recirculated, okay? Through the wash tank to remove all of the processing chemicals from the surface of the film before drying. So we all know that washing stage sa inyong automatic processing removes, okay, all the processing chemicals, specifically developer and fixer, before drying. This ensures archival quality, okay, because retention of hypo or the ammonium thiosulfate on the surface of the film will increase the chances of hypo retention. An open system rather than a closed circulation system is usually used. Okay, so how do we explain open system rather than a closed circulation system? Although water is, again, diba, water, developer, and fixer are circulated, but wash water must not be recirculated. Okay, this is why fresh tap water is piped into the tank at the bottom and overflows out to the top, where it is collected and discharged directly to the sewer system. The minimum flow rate for the wash tank in most processors is 12 liters per minute or 3 gallons per minute. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here, when I say na wash water must not be recirculated but can be circulated, di ba? Kung i-compare niyo siya sa developer and fixer na it can be agitated or mixed, okay? So that means when you mix a solution or circulate a solution, no, it can be used again and again and again, okay? But with wash water, that's not the case. Okay, we are using an open system. For example, makita niyo yung fountain paminsan na pag the water used is mag-overflow siya pag nakarating na siya sa top. Okay, and then it is going to be used again para hindi sayang ang water. But that's not the case, okay, for wash water, because once the water from the bottom reaches the upper surface, it goes directly to the sewer system. So that means one time, big time lang siya nagamit. Okay, so once the water from the bottom reaches the upper surface, it is then discharged into the sewer system. So that means isang gamitan lang gid ang inyong water. Okay, so running gid siya, fresh tap water ang ginagamit for wash tank. Now let's go with the replenishment system. The replenishment system meters the proper quantities of chemicals into each tank to maintain the volume and chemical activity. Although replenishment of the developer is more important, the fixer also has to be replenished. Okay? So sa replenishment system, kunwari, the volume of your processing chemical is for this measurement lang. So the replenishment system maintains that measurement until i-change ninyo siya manually. Okay? So wash water again is not recirculated and therefore is continuously and completely replenished. So fresh good ang inyong water dapat, and this not again agitated or mixed. Okay? When a film is inserted onto the feed tray with its widest dimension gripped by the leading rollers or the entrance rollers and its narrow side against the side rail, again, diba, as I have told you a while ago, a micro switch is activated and turns on the replenishment for as long as the film travels through the micro switch. Once the film ends its travel in the micro switch, no, hindi na ma-sense the micro switch na wala na day film. Okay, so replenishment stops. Okay, so for the replenishment rate, 60 to 70 ml of is for the developer. Dapat ang replenishment rate niya 60 to 70 ml for the developer, and 100 to 110 ml of fixer for every 35 centimeter or 14 inch of the film. So again, replenishment rates are approximately 60 to 70 ml of developer and 100 to 110 ml of fixer for every 35 centimeters of film. And we go with the last system. We have the dryer system. The dryer system consists of a blower, ventilation ducts, drying tubes, and an exhaust system. The dryer system extracts all residual moisture from the processed radiograph. Okay, so it drops into the receiving bin dry. Okay, so of course your dryer system, as the name states, it sucks all the moisture. Okay, so that your film is dry when it is dropped in the receiving bin. Okay, the blower is a fan that sucks in room air and blows it across heating coils through ductwork to the drying tubes. Therefore, room air should be low in humidity and free of dust. So dapat low in humidity siya, because kung high ang humidity niya tapos i-increase pa din yung humidity within the dryer system, that means that there is a possibility that your film will be super dry. Okay. And then sometimes as many as 3 heating coils of approximately 2,500 watts capacity are used. Okay, so the temperature of the air entering the dryer chamber is thermostatically regulated. Okay, so um, not only is the developer and fixer and water monitored ng kanilang temperature, but also the dryer system. Okay, when damp films drop into the receiving bin, the radiologic technologists should immediately suspect a malfunction on the dryer system. Although developer and fixer replenishment should also be checked. Okay, so there are 3 common causes of damp films. First is the malfunction of the dryer system. Second is the developer and fixer replenishment. Baka may problema doon. And of course, because of the depletion of the hardener, okay, or the glutaraldehyde or the hardener from each processing tank sa developer and fixer. Under replenishment reduces the concentration of hardener and is a common cause of damp film. So mo siya pag hindi na replenish ng mabuti ang inyong mga processor chemicals, there is this possibility that the hardener is not concentrated enough, okay, which will cause um, damp films. Okay, damp films easily pick up particles like dust that could cause artifacts on the radiograph. Okay, so to summarize the parts of the automatic processor. So the film is fed in the feed tray. So si feed tray dapat ang dimensions of the film should correspond ayun. Should correspond to the dimensions of the feed tray. The short side should be against the side rail and the long side should be the one in contact with the entrance rollers. Okay, so within the entrance rollers, a micro switch is in there, and once the micro switch is activated, replenishment rates are our replenishment system is activated also. Okay, so si film will enter here and then will go down to the developer in the transport rollers in which they are positioned in pairs or offset from each other, window. They are guided or propelled by the guide shoes until it reaches the turnaround assembly, which is composed of the master or solar roller and the planetary rollers. Okay, and then your master roller allows the film to be transported 180 degrees pabalik sa taas, and then it encounters the crossover rack, which has squeegee rollers which squeeze the film, no, which remove the excess chemicals from the film and lessens the carryover of the developer to the fixer. So the same thing happens to the fixer, and then crossover na naman, and then we go with the wash, and then ayan siya, dito sa drying chamber. Okay? Yan, and then until it is dropped into the receiving bin. Okay? So next, we have the automatic processor QC, cleaning, maintenance, and documentation. So for the quality control in any activity, a quality control in any activity refers to the routine and special procedures developed to ensure that the final product is of consistently high quality. Okay? QC in screen film radiography requires a planned, continuous program of evaluation and surveillance of radiologic equipment and procedures. Okay, so in order to maintain high quality radiographs, we conduct quality control tests, no, in which we evaluate which we conduct tests to evaluate the capacity of the processor, of the equipment, and also to check for faulty parts and to replace them. Okay. When applied to automatic processing, such a program involves periodic cleaning, system maintenance, and daily monitoring. So here are some of the quality control tests done in the automatic processor. Okay. We have electrical or mechanical system check. Frequency of check is it can be done daily or yearly by your service engineer. And then the items to be checked are electrical connections and cables. So dapat wala dapat nagsiwil na wires. No, dapat they are properly insulated. Micro switches should do their job. No, i-check nyo yan. Indicator lights, if the lights are still functioning with their respective functions. audio signals, heaters and thermostats, motors, roller drives, pumps, hoses, and readouts. You have to check those things, no, for any faulty parts. And if ever there are faulty parts, they must be replaced immediately. Okay. Also, we have the temperature check. Frequency of check, dapat daily yan siya, once a day. Or if makaya, every now and then. Equipment requires thermometer, non-mercury, preferably digital. So the method is test at the same time each day when developer temperature has stabilized. When this means that once the developer has been mixed properly or the circulation system has been activated, that's the time that you will do the temperature check. Okay? Kaya kung hindi yan siya na, what do you call this? The circulation system is not activated. That means there is an even temperature from the upper portion of the processing chemical to the bottom area. Okay, and then place a thermometer in developer and read while in developer. Compare thermometer reading with the built-in readout temperature. So there are for each processor chemical that is manufactured by your manufacturer, okay, there is parang specific temperature na i-recommend si manufacturer. So dapat it is compare ninyo ang result of your test temperature with the recommended temperature of the manufacturer, and dapat closely what they call this, dapat same sila, okay, or close enough siya. Okay, so to evaluate, compare test temperature with, again, manufacturer's recommended temperature or built-in temperature of the processor. Record daily temperatures for comparison, and graphs may be plotted to show variations over time. So for the variations, look for variations of temperature if it's too high, too low, or irregular, because dapat consistent yan siya. Okay, so if ever na 36 degrees Fahrenheit for example, ang temperature of your developer, it must be consistent. Okay, dapat 36 degrees all the time. So action, regular variations of more than 1 or 2 degrees should be investigated. What are the likely causes? Here, siya si heater or si thermostat. So si thermostat is responsible for automatically regulating the temperature of your developer. Tests done at different times of the day. So it is important that the test be done at the same time of the day. So preferably start up of the machine, and developer temperature not reaching operating level after start up. Okay, if necessary, call the processor service technician. So make sure that when you're doing temperature checks, again, it must be at the same time of the day, and then make sure that the circulation system has been activated, therefore stabilizing the temperature of the developer. Yeah. And then we go with the replenishment rate test. So it is done monthly. So i-check ninyo kung replenishment rate ba ni developer and fixer is the same. Diba? As I have told you a while ago, 60 to 70 ml for the developer and 100 to 110 ml for the fixer. So equipment required is one graduated 100 ml cylinder. Check the replenishment rate hoses. Check that replenishment hoses do not have any bends that may restrict the flow. Okay, so check ninyo if the hoses have not only restriction of flow but also leaks. Okay, switch on the processor, remove lead of the processor, and place activate micro switches if present to ensure that the processor will function with the lid off. Okay, so your micro switches function when the lid should be on the naka-cover dapat ang mga processing chemicals with the lid. Okay, because without the processing lid, your micro switches will fail unless you manually activate your micro switch. Okay, so di ba, the micro switch plays an important role to check the replenishment rates of your chemicals. Okay, because once the micro switch is activated, your replenishment system is also activated or triggered. Place the end of the developer replenishment hose in the graduated cylinder. Feed a film into the processor, and a preset amount of developer will automatically be pumped into the cylinder. Record this amount. Okay, so di ba once the film has entered the processor and the microswitch is engaged, your replenishment system will also be engaged. So that means that there is a preset amount that will be introduced into the processing tank. So once this replenishment solution is introduced, you have to measure it using the graduated cylinder. Empty the cylinder and repeat for the fixer. So dapat much better if we have different what do you call this? Different cylinders for each tank. Okay. And evaluation, compare amount of developer and fixer in cylinder with manufacturer's recommendation. So dapat same ang replenishment rate na recommended ni manufacturer with the test, okay, that you have done. And action, if amounts do not compare with recommendations, adjust quantity regulator accordingly, on which you have to see the manufacturer's instruction, and then you have to repeat the test to recheck kung okay na ba siya, kung same na ba sila ng measurement with the manufacturers, and you have to file a report. Okay. Now we go with the cleaning. So how do we clean an automatic processor? In most facilities, cleaning is conducted weekly. So records of such cleaning should be maintained. The cleaning procedure is rather simple. One removes the transport and crossover racks and cleans them, and the processing tanks with appropriate fluid. So once you remove the transport racks, the crossover racks, yes, removable po siya, no? So that it can be properly cleaned. Okay, so it should be cleaned with the appropriate fluids and the appropriate materials. This takes no longer than a few minutes and pays great dividends in terms of reduced processor wear and consistent production of high quality radiographs that are artifact free. When all has been reassembled, sensitometric levels must be reestablished. Okay? So, di ba sensitometric levels, katong mga HND curve na kung discussed previously sa radiographic film, that must be done, okay, using a sensitometer. So yan, for example, okay, you have to remove the racks, no? The racks from each processing chemicals, and then you have to brush, no, with the appropriate tools and the appropriate fluids. So now we go with maintenance. How is the processor maintained ba? As with any electromechanical device, maintenance of the film processor is essential. If equipment is not properly maintained, the processor may fail when least expected or when the workload is heaviest. 3 types of maintenance programs should be included in a QC program for an automatic film processor. Okay, so there are times that your processor will fail. So we have to minimize those times in order for the workflow nato para dire-diretso siya. Okay, so here are the 3 types of maintenance programs. You have the scheduled. Scheduled maintenance refers to routine procedures that are performed usually weekly or monthly. Such maintenance includes observation of all moving parts for wear or damage. So you have to check if the transport tracks are okay, kung nabakbak na ba sila, or if the guide shoes have cuts, okay, adjustment of all belts, pulleys, and gears, and application of proper lubrication to minimize wear. Okay, so kailangan ng proper lubrication in order for the swift moving or propelling of the film, no? Not only through the lubrication of your rollers. Okay, lubrication of rollers, lubrication of the gears, no, lubrication of your pulleys and belts. Okay, no, sorry, hindi kasali si roller because lubrication might be, the lubrication fluid might damage or might infect your processor chemicals. Okay, so si proper lubrication is for your belts and pulleys, gears, and for your drive motor na mga devices. Okay, so during processor lubrication, it is especially important to keep the lubricant off of your hands, yun nga, thereby keeping it away from films and rollers and of course out of processor chemistry. Okay? So wala ta kabalo, hindi natin alam kung anong effect ni lubricant, no, sa chemicals. So that is why we have to keep it away, no, from the chemicals, from the processing chemistry. Next, we have preventive maintenance. It is a planned program of parts replacement at regular intervals. Preventive maintenance requires that the part should be replaced before it fails. Such a program should avoid unexpected downtime. So this one is the proper, no, na maintenance. Okay, so at specific intervals, we have, for example, okay, one preventive maintenance ta by March 15 or by the 15th of every month. Okay, so by March 15, by April 15, we are going to check, no, if there are defective parts na sa machine or sa processor. If there are, kailangan na siya palitan as soon as possible so that the workflow or the processing is swift, no, dire-diretso siya, walang downtime, hindi siya mag-stop. Okay? And last, we have non-scheduled yan siya ha, hindi siya preventive na kalimutan ko lang i-edit. So that's non-scheduled maintenance and is of course the worst kind. A failure in the system necessitates processor repair is a non-scheduled event. A proper program of scheduled maintenance and preventive maintenance keeps non-scheduled maintenance to a minimum. So we don't want a non-scheduled maintenance because it disrupts the workflow. Okay? Sayang naman yung mga pasyente na magpa-x-ray pa. Okay? So if this happens, disrupted yun ang inyong workflow. Okay? So much better na mag-scheduled or preventive maintenance so that your non-scheduled maintenance is at the minimum. Okay? And then we have processor monitoring. Okay, at least once per day, processor operation should be observed and certain measurements should be recorded. For the most accurate results, this monitoring should occur at the same time every day. So you have to check, no, most especially the temperature of the developer and the wash water. Developer and fixer replenishment rate should be observed and recorded. Okay, so di ba, sabi kanina, a proper QC program includes maintenance and cleaning and also processor monitoring. So what you have to do for processor monitoring, you have to check the temperature of both developer, washer, and also of course the fixer tank. And of course the replenishment rate of these chemicals too. Replenishment tanks should be checked to determine whether the floating lids are properly positioned to avoid aerial oxidation and whether fresh chemistry is needed. It is often appropriate to check the pH and specific gravity of the developer and fixer solutions, and residual hypo should be determined. So you have to check, no, the chemicals most specifically because your processor depends, no, the quality of the radiograph depends on the of the efficiency of your chemicals. Okay? So i-check ninyo kung proper pa ba ang volumes ng processing tanks. You also have to check the pH and the specific gravity of the developer and fixer solutions, and check if there is residual hypo or residual ammonium thiosulfate. So if there is, replace. Okay? And then you also have to do a sensitometric test. So a sensitometric strip should be passed through the processor, and fog, speed, and contrast then should be measured and recorded appropriately. Most film suppliers provide forms and assistance to establish and conduct a program of film processor monitoring. Okay, so through this you can monitor, no, the level of fog, the speed of your film, and of course the contrast that can be produced by the film. Okay, a written record of the results of such a program is very much important, which brings us to record keeping or documentation. It is essential to keep records of all quality control procedures, maintenance, repairs carried out so that mas maganda na black and white siya so that you can really track, no, na okay, naka preventive maintenance tayo by the 15, okay, na follow siya. So where did we went wrong? Saan tayo nagkamali? Okay, so you can track it because you have proper documentation. You have to record all the parts purchased, no, record all the costs, and continually review the procedures repair cost, and quality of the radiograph. So it is important, very much important now when you do something, you have to record it. No? When you have cleaned the processor, okay, I have cleaned it by this specific time and this specific date. So that when something goes wrong, you can check the documentation kung saan kayo nagkamali, okay, kung saan kayo nagkulang. Okay, by maintaining and using your processor correctly, there will be less downtime, less inconvenience, and lower cost. So if you take care properly of your machine, of course, dire-diretso talaga ang flow ng inyong work or workflow. And it increases throughput or the efficiency and the job satisfaction. Of course, malipay gid ang mga rad tech because uh, walang abala masyado, no? Walang extra workload for them, no? To, of course, if nag downtime ang inyong machine, there will be extra work for the rad tech for that. Okay? So with proper scheduling, preventive maintenance, proper scheduled and preventive maintenance, proper monitoring, proper record keeping, and proper quality control, no much better ang work life ni RadTech and the um, shelf life ni processor. Okay? So that would be all for this topic. Prepare for a quiz this next week. Okay? And so if you have any questions, you can message me on Messenger. And yes, please wait for the lab activity for this one. Okay? Thank you.